but he knows that it's his journey to get to where he wants to get to. So he accepts the challenge, embraces the challenge, and moves on. It's his champion's journey to make a life of meaning for him.
Hello, and welcome to this week's episode of the Tiff and Tony Show. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Tiff and Tony Show. Tony, hello. How are you doing today?
I am doing wonderful. Thank you for asking. How are you?
I am okay. I'm getting through life one day at a time. That's kind of part of what we're talking about today, because you've been challenging me off screen quite a bit to rethink how I'm thinking about some challenges I'm facing in life right now. So we wanted to talk about the champion's journey. For those of you who might remember, if you're following along, we talked about this, not specifically the champion's journey, but we talked about kind of what we're going to talk about today. Last summer, I believe it was, when we talked about life planning, and we had a whole series on having like a 10-year, 5-year, 1-year plan and how all that works. So Tony, I'm going to pass it off to you. So introduce us to Champion's Journey, and more specifically, what you're challenging us to today.
We talked about creating an obituary, right? Start with the end in mind, to give yourself something that you could live as a life, and this is something for you to defend. And it's kind of along those lines. I want us to think about how we live our life and what the meaning of it all is, right? We can sometimes sit there and say, well, what's the meaning of life? What's the purpose of life? And I think we could re-ask that question, and instead of asking what is the meaning of life, ask instead, what does life expect of me today, right? And so that then brings it into me turning up and arriving at a very different place, because now I'm here to serve those around me. I'm here to serve life. What is expected of me today? What does life want of me today? Gives me a bigger picture of what we're talking about. And we've talked about life with meaning has this desire to serve others, to find awe and wonder in nature, and to take on our challenges with a sense of optimism, right? They're the three things that we really need. And it's from Viktor Frankl's book, Man's Search for Meaning. That's where all of this is coming from. In that book, he writes a story of a man who was convicted of a crime and was going to face life in prison on a faraway island. And on the journey, obviously he was on a boat, on a ship. And on the way there, it encountered a storm. And he actually, in fact, rescued 11 people on that ship. Sitting on the dock, heading out there, he could have thought, well, my life has no meaning. What's the point of me even living? But then he saved 11 people. And so life asked of him to save these people, which meant that his life had meaning for those 11 people in that moment. And as it happened, his life sentence was commuted and he was set free and all of that sort of stuff. It makes you wonder, can we get out of our kind of myopic view of ourselves and just looking at who we are and go, the world is a bigger place. What is out there and what is expected of me? So what do you think of that? What are your thoughts there?
I mean, for one, that's an incredible story. It's hopeful, it's enlightening, it's very human. And so I guess my follow-up question is, so what does that look like for us here and now?
And that is a great question, because we can get stuck in life. And what I mean by that is, we go to school, we go to college, we get a job, we feel that we have to fit in, we go buy a house, we have to do things in a set way. But in doing these things in a set way, I think we lose sight of who we really are inside, the mission that we would love to be on, this champion's journey that we would love to partake in, right? What I'd like to challenge our viewers to is this creating a story that you can walk into. We know we've talked about fate being a horrible writer of our story, and we can't just rely on that. So what if we become co-writers of the story, knowing that fate's going to have its part to play, but we can have more control and actually start writing our own story and where we want to go. And it starts by recognizing that we have dreams, right? If you could sit there and list out all of the things that you want to do, everything, what would it look like? I want to go to Tibet. I want to go to Australia. I want to learn to cook a kind of a world-class meal. That type of thing. I would love to learn to play the guitar. I actually want to do things like I want to learn to hotwire a car, right? I'd love to ride a motorcycle. I've never actually ridden a motorcycle. I want to ride a motorcycle. I want to learn how to do that. So these are all of the dreams that I have out there. I may never get to them, but it gives me something to hope for, and it gives me something to live into, right? It gives me something to think bigger about. I can think bigger than my current situation because these things are out there. And then I can pick one or two of them and have a plan to start working toward it. So I told you off camera that one of my biggest dreams is to have the PureGame Champion Center. You know, think of a big box Walmart type place, a Lowe's, something like that. And you walk into the door and there's all of these mini soccer pitches everywhere. Kids are playing soccer, kids are learning soccer, coaches are learning how to coach properly. There's character education, there's social emotional skills. There's people from around the world in there. There's the older generation playing walking soccer, those who still want to play, but haven't got the ability to, because like me, can't run because they keep pulling a muscle. There's a youth development center there where we're bringing kids from juvenile hall in to teach them life skills. There's a t-shirt printing company and a graphic design company. There's offices where we can kind of do life coaching and business coaching out of all of these things. And it's all centered in this big box unit called the PureGame Champion Center. I may never get that, but it fills me with so much energy and passion to start working towards it, that it fills my life full of energy. And I just wake up every morning going, okay, what am I going to do today to make that happen? I'm going to get challenges along the way, but I think life is meant to have challenges. I think of a movie, think of The Bourne Identity, right? During that movie, Jason Bourne is trying to find his identity. That's his purpose. That's his story in that movie. And he's working wholeheartedly to get it. But along the way, he comes across challenges. He gets people punching him in the face. He gets people chasing him in cars. He falls out of windows and all sorts of stuff. And in the moment, he as a hero in his story is probably not enjoying those moments. If you stop that film right there and said, Mr. Jason Bourne, are you enjoying being punched in the face right now? He will say no. But he knows that it's his journey to get to where he wants to get to. So he accepts the challenge, embraces the challenge, and moves on. It's his champion's journey to make a life of meaning for him. And I think we've got to accept that in our own lives. Challenges are going to happen. We can overcome them if we paint a bigger picture.
So that is our challenge to you, is to think outside and bigger than your current situation. That doesn't mean you have to ignore all the things going on in your life. It's to give you something for your eyes to set on the horizon and write it down, right? So that's the challenge you want.
That's
people
the challenge.
to literally write it down. You can vision board it, you can do it digitally, you can write it down in a journal, whatever way you want to write it down. So it's a physical, tangible representation of what you want, what you're working towards, what you're hopeful about. Do you have anything to add to that, Tony?
No, it's you said it, think big, think outside yourself. Just all of those stuff that you kind of fantasize about. I'd love to fly a plane. I'd love to ride a motorcycle. I'd love to climb Mount Everest. I'd love to go visit somewhere I'd love to own a dog. Whatever it is, just write it all down. Just list as many things, as big as small as you can think of. Next week, we'll talk about how we could potentially take one or two of those and turn them into little goals for you to actually set out there to start working towards.
Perfect. I love it. Well, get out there, challenge yourself, write down all of your dreams, goals, aspirations. Maybe you want to call it a bucket list, whatever you want to call it, that's okay. And we'll see you right back here next week. Thanks, Tony.
Thank you very much, Tiffany. See ya.
Bye. Thank you so much for joining Tony and me in this week's episode of the Tiff and Tony Show. We hope you feel encouraged and motivated to keep growing with us. If you like what we do here at PureGame, one of the best ways you can support us is by liking and sharing this video with your friends on social media. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel using the button directly below this video on YouTube. And you can donate at our website, www.thepuregame.org. And with that, we'll see you right back here next week.